Chapter 11. A Game of Chicken.
Pris incoming now.
Evren reads the first part of Japetia's message, and everyone cheers her words, feeling energized and ready to go. More quietly, she adds,
"Cops incoming in 8 minutes.
Hearing Evren's subdued voice. They all quiet and stare at her before falling into a frantic activity. Taryn helps Seren to her feet, while Raylan supports her from the other side. Evren and Arya run out onto the street, gazing toward the intersection, where they expect to see Pris's car any second.
"Come on, Pris."
Arya whispers, nervously clenching her fists. Evren's arm clip vibrates again. She reads,
4 police copters incoming. ETA 12 minutes.
Boy, they do mean business.
Seren grunts respectfully as she hobbles toward the street.
Damn it.
Raylan growls.
Where are you, Pris?
With a pumping heart, Evren stares into the night. Her mind races, not only because of the cops, but because of her reunion with her old love, the alma mother to her child.
Will she be the Pris I knew?
Evren thinks warily.
Do I still know her?
Behind her, Evren hears street pebbles quietly crunch under invisible tires. The silhouette of a car shadow, darker than the surrounding night itself, appears on the street.
Who called a cab?
Pris' voice nonchalantly sounds out of the dark. They all strain their eyes to pierce the shadow that blocks their view, just a few steps in front of them. Right before them, the mechanical hiss of opening doors flees into the night, and Pris's grinning face appears in the interior lights of her Chirox Roadmaster. They try to adjust their eyes and realize that the shadow itself is the car. The back door also opens and Pris waves them in.
Let's get the hells out of here.
She barks. Evren is the first to scoot in the back behind Pris, too nervous to greet her. Arya and Raylan join her in the back of the car, while Taryn maneuvers Seren and her outstretched leg in the spacious front passenger seats. Raylan taps Pris's shoulder while the doors slide closed.
Let's go,
He says.
There are patrol cars and copters incoming.
In the distance, swirling yellow lights cut through the night, and Pris lets out her breath through pouted lips.
Copter, eh?
She muses, slowly setting the car in motion. She taps the steering wheel in thought, humming one of Corin's goodnight tunes. The Chirox slowly crawls toward the abandoned charging station at a walking pace.
What are you doing?
Taryn whispers nervously. She expected Pris to speed up immediately, leaving the town as fast as possible.
I'm hiding.
Pris replies, flipping a switch to activate the night vision panorama. Crisp views of the bus stop reveal bushes and trees behind the bus shack. Old farm buildings and storage shacks become visible, but also the bright swirling lights of a patrol car in the distance. Pris leans forward, resting her arms on the steering wheel.
Don't worry. I know what I'm doing.
She reassures her passengers.
It's too late to scoot out of here. The dust would give us away,
She says.
and the highway is a death trap. So, we wait.
She explains and starts to hum her tune again. Like Taryn, Arya is frightened by the mere presence of the police, and so she just whispers,
"We cannot wait. Sarah needs first aid now."
Oh, almost forgot.
Pris reaches below her seat and pulls a lever. Air hisses out of Arya's back seat and she gets pushed forward. Turning around, Arya pulls down the seat. In Spot's bags full of groceries, first aid kits and boxes with unknown content.
Help yourself.
Pris nods grimly. Outside, the first patrol car slowly rolls down the street, searchlights piercing the dark to the left and right.
Yes, shine your light on me.
Pris gloats over the ignorance of the cops. The search beam passes the Chirox without hesitation and illuminates the rest of the charging station. Another pass of bright light, and the patrol car slowly rolls on.
Nice not to meet you, pig.
Seren growls as Taryn relieves her of the old bloodied bandages. Seren's calf seems unnaturally thick, with a dark blue ring swelling around the entry wound.
More bandages.
Taryn orders Arya, who rummages through the first aid kit. She reads the description of a small vial, then taps Taryn's shoulder.
"This should help."
She says, handing her the vial, emphasizing the potency of the liquid. She cautions Taryn,
"Just a few drops."
applying a few drops of a viscous black liquid onto Seren's wounds. Taryn watches as the liquid is immediately absorbed by the wounded tissues.
Good stuff.
She grunts and nods at Pris, who watches the patrol car slowly drive toward the edge of the town.
Yeah, got it off a hospital surplus trader.
Pris responds, gently skating around the fact that the deal was made just an hour ago on a junkyard in the midst of Pris's spending spree. Looking back, Pris admits to herself that a little less shopping would have given her more time she misses now. Taryn observes the tissue's color slowly change into a healthier dark red. Saren sighs with relief.
Biobots.
Taryn says.
I wish I'd be so rich to carry that with me.
She shakes her head and gently dabs the last blood clots away from Saren's leg. Inside her wound, millions of organoids are docking onto cells of the wounded tissue, repairing, structuring, undocking, searching, following their programmed affinity for tissue repair until they run out of energy and die, to be absorbed as building material for new cells. The patrol car rolls past the charging station and toward the thin trail of smoke that rises from the crashed copter in the field. Pris slowly steers the Chirox back onto the street, her eyes in the rearview mirror. She lets the car roll into a dead-end side street, coming to a stop behind a transformer station. More flashing lights pierce the night as two other patrol cars reach the scene. One of them rolls by the transformer station, its searchlight straining the compensation of the night vision window. Pris can even see the bored faces of the cops in their patrol car. They would rather be drinking beer at their precinct now than chasing a shadow in the night.
This car is fucking awesome.
Arya whispers, her heart still pounding at the sight of cops passing by so close.
You bet.
Pris proudly replies. She glances into the rearview mirror.
Tell her about your rockets.
Saren snorts as Taryn puts on new bandages.
Rockets?
Arya is shocked, looking around for signs of a launching pad.
Just a precautionary measure, dear.
Pris grins, satisfied about the attention her beloved car receives. The second patrol car returns from the dead-end street and passes the black shadow of the Chirox again.
We should be able to skip out back now.
She checks the village map on her middle console and taps another switch. A whirring noise sounds from the wheel wells, and the car lifts higher from the ground. Her eyes glancing into the rearview mirror, she slowly drives along the side street that ends in a cornfield. The car engines hum louder as Pris forces the heavy car onto the field. She stops the car and surveys the map. The road close to the crashed copter takes a long right-hand curve and crosses the cornfield further down the valley.
Buckle up.
Pris advises, reaching for her safety belt. The swishing noises of the corn stalks that hit the hood sound through the interior as Pris drives through the cornfield.
I hope I can squeeze by, but those copters have night vision and thermal. They may not see us yet, but they'll see the trail of smushed corn plants.
She points her thumb behind her. Arya's head swivels around, and she watches the wide gap between the corn rows behind them. In the distance, she spots a red blinking light in the night sky.
There's something behind us.
Arya whispers, and Pris increases speed.
I see it.
Pris replies, tight-lipped. She steers a slight curve, away from the light that approaches at high speed. The car begins to jolt and bounce as it drives across the plant rows, shaking its passengers around. More red lights appear behind the approaching copter, fanning out over the area. Pris increases speed further. Corn plants swish past the windows, their stalks beating a faster and faster drumroll as they break against the hood. The car now races across the field, fast enough to skip over the dirt rows, evening out the bouncy ride. Leaves and corn cobs cover the front of the Chirox like whiskers of an angry black panther. All around them, the dark ocean of green plants spreads into the darkness. Checking the map, Pris corrects her course slightly.
We'll hit the road in a second. Hold on.
Arya looks behind them into the sky and spots the dark contour of a police copter, its sleek form descending toward their position. Her body bounces up and down as the car bursts through the last row of corn and onto the road. Searchlights from the copters have picked up the car's trail and follow its course through the cornfield. As soon as the car hits the road surface, Pris kicks down the accelerator, and they all are pressed against their seats as the Chirox lurches forward. At the same time, the blinding lights of the copter hit the car, leaving ghost images on the night vision foil.
No hiding now.
Pris grunts, quickly changing a few settings in the car. Her eyes pierce the darkness ahead. Out here, only wasteland awaits them. The small road winds around large boulders and gnarled tree roots, evading landfills and stretches of dead thorny thicket. The searchlight falls upon them. Rotors buzz directly overhead. Clouds of dust and debris are whipped aside as one copter overtakes them. Further down the road, it descends and gracefully pivots to block the road ahead.
You want to play chicken?
Pris challenges the copter pilot.
I'm game.
Her chest muscle tenses as she grabs the steering wheel tightly. The others look on as Pris races straight toward the copter hovering motionless above the ground.
Pris?
Raylan asks nervously. Pris looks straight ahead, lowering her head with a devilish grin. They approach the copter rapidly, passing the swirling clouds of dust around it. Seren braces herself against the seat as she stares directly at the hovering copter.
Pris?
Race for impact.
Pris calls out, holding onto the steering wheel. With the pilot's frightened face in view, she kicks down the accelerator. The Chirox engine hungrily absorbs the energy boost, and the deep hum of the engine vibrates in their bodies. In the last instant, the copter lurches up into the sky, its landing skid scraping over the roof of the Chirox.
Chicken.
Pris snorts, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Arya's short, shallow breaths sound through the car as she slowly releases her tight grip on the seat cushion. Her fingernails leave deep marks in the leather, which only reluctantly returns to its normal shape.
Don't do that again.
Raylan moans, still tightly gripping his safety belt, refusing to let go. Taryn and Seren hold each other, gazing hypnotized onto the road. They saw the landing skid coming directly toward them, split seconds before their almost certain death.
This is not over.
Pris warns them.
They'll be honest like flies in a second.
She pulls another lever under her seat, and a whirring noise is heard from the back. The trunk cover slides up to form a protective shield against the back window. Suddenly, a pattering noise sounds through the car. Small bullet-shaped indentations appear on the roof, and another salvo sprays along the road in front of them. Seren spots a copter to her right, its open side door manned with a cop bearing an automatic rifle. Light flashes shoot toward her, and the window glass crumbles into a spider web-like pattern. Bending but not breaking, Seren stares into the reflection of her own face where the bullets hit the glass.
The more, the merrier.
Pris snarls, suddenly slowing the car down. Another rain of bullets hits the roof and hood of the Chirox. Small chips of black carbon fiber fly off the hood, revealing the steel below. All four copters now circle their prey, occasionally letting off bursts of gunfire, like hurting the car until backup on the ground arrives. In her rearview mirror, Pris spots flashing yellow lights approaching.
I've had enough of this,
she mutters, tapping the control console. 3 loud clicking noises are heard in the back of the car. Sitting next to the noise, Raylan and Arya instinctively sit upright, anxiously gazing at the seat cushions. Raylan, who is seriously doubting their chances of escape, asks Pris cynically,
So, what's next? Whip out the old nuclear bomb?
Pris laughs,
Nope, let's be reasonable.
and decisively taps the console again. A piercing, deafening hiss stuns them as the car suddenly lurches forward. The stench of acrid chemicals, sulfur, and burnt metal makes them cough as clouds of hot white vapor shoot into the cabin.
Sorry.
Pris apologizes.
Still working on that.
Outside, a bright light quickly rises into the night sky, leaving a trail of ghostly white plume behind it. In a wide sweeping arc, the missile returns, seeking to complete its mission. The red-hot turbines of the closest copter give it its final destination, contact. A loud explosion and a blinding flash of light erupt to the right of the car. The copter spins out of control, and sparks of electricity engulf its engine. Helplessly, it tailspins to the ground and crashes against a large boulder. Flames flare up in the back of the cabin.
Sorry, but you started it.
Pris apologizes nonchalantly to the copter crew while she prepares another missile. The others stare speechless outside as the car passes the burning wreck on the ground. Firefighting foam leaks onto the fire and extinguishes its flames. While the others try to process that a car just shot down a police copter, Pris checks the side mirrors and her map.
Aw, no more play?
She snickers as the remaining copters hastily retreat out of sight. The patrol cars stop near the wreckage, their flashing lights illuminating the darkness around them. The sharp scent of ozone still hangs in the air, and Pris opens the windows wide. The cold, fresh night air pulls them out of their stupor.
What? I mean, how?
Arya looks behind her as the trunk cover slides back into place. Whiffs of white smoke trail off in the darkness. The flashing lights disappear in the night. Saren bumps her fists against the roof and calls out.
This is the best car ever.
She holds out her hand and a grinning Pris high-fives her.
Well played, Pris.
Raylan says, respectfully nodding his head. The emotional turmoil of the past hours has finally numbed him against events that would have shaken his former self. Everin remains quiet, unable to utter any meaningful sentence. This level of aggression is far beyond anything she ever experienced. She leans away from the window as the cold wind grabs her hair. Seeing Pris again, acute fear for her own life, gunfire, explosions, and fire around her. All this forms a big, unresolvable clump in her throat. Pris closes the windows and checks the map. Further ahead, the winding road crosses other roads that once led to flourishing settlements further east.
There's nothing out here.
Taryn observes and instinctively checks the screen for the remaining energy of the car.
Yeah, it's a wasteland.
Pris replies.
The heat drove everyone off. My Grand Crow had a farm out here.
Pris nods slowly in remembrance of better, cooler days. She sets a waypoint east of Dushama. The map shows clusters of small streets where villages once lay, dotted among rolling hills and vast open steppe. Raylan checks the waypoint. Beyond the Dushama suburbs, small villages are scattered around the city. He leans forward and asks Pris,
You got someone in Dushama who you trust?
My first cousin, once removed.
Pris responds,
Len daughter of my great Amma aunt, on my Len mother's side.
while checking for damages in the electronic systems. She chats on,
The family of my great Amma aunt lived there forever. Last time I visited her, my great Grand Crow was still alive, a real old crow, and his Amma mom fought in the First Trinity War.
Raylan is fascinated by Pris's knowledge about her family. He has never had much interest in family genealogy. For him, it was just a mash of indiscriminate names and genders. Pris gazes at Raylan in her rearview mirror and says,
Yeah, I'll trust her with my life.
Taryn looks up from the map and remarks,
It's a farm. In the middle of nowhere.
Yup, it's the old Sullivan farm.
Pris says,
She's a vet and keeps some livestock herself.
It'll take about 3 hours on this road.
Taryn reports after checking the distance.
Time for a nap.
Saren yawns, cuddling up against Taryn.
Yes, get some rest.
Pris suggests as she reaches for her side pocket. Driving the car with her knees, she opens a small box, shaking out a little pill. On the box, a handwritten note says, Mother's Little Helper. She slides the pill into her mouth and cocks her head in anticipation, crushing the pill between her teeth. She lets out a grunt of relief. Noticing Taryn's slightly disturbed gaze at her, Pris shrugs her shoulders and says,
Don't judge me. So what do you know about working your ass off to keep your child alive?
She thinks angrily, recalling the long night shift she endured. Thanks to her little pills, to be with her son during the day. She defends her amphetamine use with the same vigor as she would defend her child. Arya also leans back, unsure where to rest her face. Raylan decides for her and lays his arm around her. Gladly, Arya finds comfort in his familiar scent, closing her eyes to rest. Everin is already half asleep, her head resting on the back seat, still poised to tense up at the next horrifying situation. Everin's mind slowly overcomes her near-death experience and her sense of utter helplessness. She finds time to think about what she wants to say to Pris, how to react to her impulsive nature, and where their child is. The Chirox engine's monotonous hum quiets their worries, and one after the other, they fall asleep. Pris is wide awake as the amphetamines rush through her blood. Her mind replays the scenes of their escape and cycles through concerns about battery leaks, suspension failure, and power loss. At the same time, the Amma mother and her worries about Corin.
Jepedia seems okay.
She thinks at ease.
Her puppet is really something.
She recalls Corin's happy face when he played with Pico, and a short sting of envy passes her thoughts at his innocent life. Looking in the rearview mirror, she leans over to see Everin, who is sitting right behind her. Pris looks at the sleeping Everin, almost secretly, not to wake her up with her stare. Even in her sleep, Everin's brows are furrowed, her face gaunt and exhausted, with dark rings under her eyes. The playful youth is cut from this Len's face. Pris realizes that pain and sorrow exist in other people's lives too. Pris knew right away that it was Everin who dove into the back of her car. Although her heart jumped with joy at the sight of Everin, the time was not right for a welcome hug, so Pris rather kept quiet. Yet, she is not quite sure how to treat Everin.
This Evren feels different to the one I know.
Pris thinks, bewildered.
She's the biological Len mother to our child, but what does that mean?
Corin never had a Len mother, or a crow dad. Pris's years in Dushama were filled with changing relationships. None of them felt like family. She yearns to be part of a steady triple, a family carrying on her name for another generation, but not at any cost. Even if Everin is the Len mother of their child, what else is she now?
Maybe her life is as fucked up as mine.
She muses.
Why else would she be caught up with these misfits?
Pris glances in the rearview mirror, watching Raylan and Arya sleeping side by side.
Yeah, I saw you too, slut.
She hisses inside at Arya's face. She was the one Aimee that would have split her triple with Corin and Everin, the parents of her child.
I was just protecting my family to be.
She defends her overreaction at that beach party. That was years ago, but the irrational notion that Arya was at the core of all her misfortune since their fight still lingers in Pris's memory. Pris listens to the quiet purr of the Chirox's engine and gazes out into the night. She feels safe in her mechanical cocoon, safe enough to let her thoughts roam into an uncertain future. Geppettia's words echo through her mind.
After you stop the madness, the money will still be yours.
The calming thought sets free images of Corin's warm smile and the scent of his skin. At the same time, a rage builds inside her, a rage against anyone who stands between her and a safe future for her son. She wants to fight. All she is missing is a real target. I'm so glad I don't have to travel in this thing.
Why? You don't trust me?